important soft skills you, never were taught in school. You were taught in school, you say, yes you were, but maybe you didn't learn. But these are 10 important soft skills you never were taught in school. As I said, you were taught in school, but did you learn? I'm sure you did. I'm sure you learned lots of things. I'm sure you learned mathematics. I'm sure you even found it difficult enough to learn mathematics at times. I'm sure there was things within mathematics that you wondered, why the heck do you need to learn them? And that is true of us all. I'm sure there's a language or two that you learned. Maybe you use it. Maybe you go overseas and it's wonderful. But there are other things like, important soft skills that you need to know. Because these are the things that guide us through life. One of these things is exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm conversing with you. Now, okay, you're not here in front of me, but that's the beauty of video, that we can actually use this medium to begin a conversation. That's why here on the screen, you can like, if you can, subscribe if you haven't already, and that is communication through conversation. Conversation is the number one thing that goes as a thread through every area and every aspect of life. Being able to converse with people like bosses, managers, line workers, co-workers, people that you love, people that you like to love, people that you are friendly with, husbands, wives, partners, neighbours, acquaintances, all these different types of people, all different types and shapes and sizes of cultures, religions and ethics of people. They all have social norms and boundaries, things that we need to do. For example, a handshake. Often in countries we like to handshake each other when we greet each other. We like to hug a person. We like to have eye contact. These are facets of conversation. And this communication, be it social media, be it perhaps email, telephone and so on, texting, this is a norm, a social norm, but it's all part of that conversation. Younger people often, they'll be called a silent generation. Perhaps they don't speak as much face to face, but they still have their ways and means of getting out there in some regard, psychologically enough, to communicate. And this texting or social media and the, now old and ancient email, but still very pertinent email, is a part, a thing that can fulfill or just lend to the conversation. And within that conversation, there's another thing, the argument. The argument, you say, well, yes, there's an art to this argument. And there's persuasion and even fallacies that are quite logical that can be seen too within an argument. These are the soft skills, as I say. The personal communication skills are often hindered and not even looked at. And there's, often seen that there can be social isolation as a result of people not using their particular arts, like the art of argument. Now, it's good to have a healthy debate. That's what I'm talking about right here, in order to break down boundaries, to see another person's particular and specific opinion on a topic. I'm not saying you have to agree with them, but it's nice to know exactly what they think and feel. Maybe they don't actually think and feel an awful lot more than what they're actually putting out there, but they're beginning to exercise their own thoughts and feelings on a topic if you converse with them. So you're actually helping a person who's not too sure about their own persuasiveness even, or their art of arguing, or their logical ideations of what's going on within their own argument or their topic or whatever. So by listening to someone when they speak, or when they listen you speak, is of great value within the workplace and within your interpersonal relationships. That allows you to know that these soft skills are critical. They're hugely important for us to sustain not only our relationships, but as I said, in the workplace and in businesses. The art of conversation was a thing that was always there. But before we conversed, we had time to think. Another soft thing, a soft skill, thinking. Thinking is so important because huge amount of leaders all through the world in democratic societies, not even in democracies, but huge decades and centuries of leaders have shown that the difference between good thinking and bad thinking, the difference between real thoughtfulness in how you approach something, a big situation or even a small situation, a decision that is then made because of the thinking capabilities, allows us to either achieve, to be successful, to be productive or not. So it's really important that you learn these skills, if you haven't already, the thinking approach. Education is generally pragmatic. I've spent many years in it myself. I know exactly how it works. But when, like educators, they often test pupils or students on specific data, such as mathematics, which I spoke about already. These students will learn that data. Just why? Because they're motivated by the end means, which is the test, which is the result, which is the certificate, which is the fact that that is the end means to their motivation, their end goal. But what about the skill? What about the thread that allows you to get from A to B, C, D, and all the way to Z? Well, that is actually the skill of how you use that education. It's like money. How do you get money? You handle money. And there's a skill in even just counting money. If you've got a lot of it, you need to count it quickly, but accurately. These are different skills. Education has nothing to do with that. The importance of handling money responsibly is a huge, valuable skill. Within finance, accountancy, business classes, they do explain accounting procedures, arrangements that finances or financial places have, and structures of business. But they don't actually look at people's ways of investing or saving or personal finances. Now, people used to save a lot when they had no money. And oddly, when people have no money, they save it. But if you invest, you can actually realize that your money grows rather than it, like the old man used to do, sit and put it underneath his mattress. So the soft skills of knowing and thinking and communicating, conversing, becoming even more important, as is financial literacy. Aha! We're coming to where we like to be here. Being able to understand what money language means allows us to understand and see an opportunity when it's there, or if it presents itself before other people realize that it's actually there. So there's a language, a whole conversational willingness and a whole conversational language around the things that we might actually want to invest in. Another thing we can invest in, though, is our intelligence. Our intelligence, you say. Well, if you've already gone to school, do you need to have your intelligence challenged? Of course you do. Why? Because you have to live with people. And with people, then people always have emotion. With emotion, you have to challenge your own intelligence, your emotional intelligence. And with that, you actually have to realize that other people have feelings. So emotional intelligence is a soft skill. It's not something that you would have learned specifically in schools, because as I said, schools will actually have tests. You don't get a medal for that emotional intelligence. There has been no test generally in the past used within the schools to allow you to be tested with that emotional intelligence. However, of course, your people around you, your peers, the young people that you grew up with, they are giving you that ability, that socialization, be it within the school or outside the school, in order for you to mingle, to just chat freely, to converse. Those soft skills, use those soft skills in order to allow their emotional intelligence, your friends, your girlfriends, your boyfriends' emotional intelligence, for you to test your own emotional reasoning and your emotional ability as well. So this is a soft skill that needs to be developed. Often boys, for example, go into boys' school and then they have wives and don't understand women. Guess what? You need to learn. If you're in a boys' school, then you need to learn these skills, these emotional skills. These are the soft skills that are going to make you successful more so in life. Nutrition is another one. Why? Because the good food you eat yesterday is now digested. It has built you up to being what you are right now. Wonderful. But it's gone. And your ability to actually grow physically, to repair muscles with proteins, for example, that is needed with good nutrition. Nutrition is hugely important. For example, in the United States, obesity has increased over so many years to the point where it was found that nearly 71% of the population could actually be considered obese or overweight back in 2016. Now, the leading cause of death in the US was heart disease, which killed, believe it or not, 610,000 people every year up until then. And guess what the best condition for all of this is? You guessed, nutrition. Nutrition, changing the way people eat. Although a lot of schools or educational institutions, like, they didn't use nutrition as a standardized way of teaching the subject, it's often shunted, believe it or not, in health courses as well. It doesn't get the attention it deserves. In fact, when you go into school, often from one end of the day to the next, people don't observe, or teachers don't actually give points or attainment value to what you eat. That's wrong. How can you communicate best? How can you observe the next person? How can you help the next person? How can you do all the things that we've spoken about? Have that emotional intelligence. Be able to emotionally connect with yourself, with others, your friends, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, a potential other. How can you have financial literacy without all of these soft skills working together under the hood of that importance of nutrition? And what I'm here to try and tell you at the end of this video right now, or coming up, is that if you use all these soft skills together, if you use them, your thinking will be clearer in the long run. You will have more clarity, your behaviors will become better. You will become a person who is able to develop the art of the argument, the persuasiveness. And persuasiveness sells. It allows you to get more money, to be able to help other people, or to be able to help yourself. Use that all intertwined within conversation. Use them all together, and you, my friend, will have important soft skills you never were taught in school. Now, I've mentioned a lot of them. Thinking, conversation. I've mentioned financial literacy, how to handle money, etc. I've mentioned the fact that nutrition is hugely important, and it is going to help you grow, not just physically, but it's going to aid, intertwined with your emotional intelligence, it's going to aid you to develop your soft skills. But it's not the only thing that is actually going to help you now and in the future. Your civic values will also help you. If you can understand how to be a good citizen and the quality of life, these democratic values are going to really aid you, and understand that you need other people and you need public services, and public service needs you and your behavior to be good. Why? Because a drastic example of this was when Donald Trump became the president of America. I'm not saying Donald was a bad person. He was a very successful person. But other people saw him and perceived him as being a bad advocate for civic life. You want to be seen as a good civic life advocate. You don't want to have obstacles in your way, because what we're saying here is that you are going to have better soft skills if you understand all of these things, including the ability to converse, nutrition, feeling good, being good, understanding your money, investments, all of these things, emotional intelligence intertwined, and it will help your relationships and dating life too. It will also help you fall in love, because they are all, as I said, they're already intertwined. So these are the things that allow you in different ways to improve. But these are soft skills that are not taught in school. As are what's going on in the government. Now, there are civic kind of subjects in school, but specifically how the history of your government and where it has come from to where it is going, and the democratic principles that are needed, and how politics works. These are all needed. The government at the end of the day will invest or will not invest, that will, change your livelihood or not. Why spend your adult years learning these things? Because you need to, because these are not taught in school. But you need these things, this toolbox as such, in order to get yourself right the way through the alphabet to where you want to get at the end result to be your own success. How to survive without certain technology. It's important. Why do you need certain technology? Well, it's pretty handy. It gets you where you need to go on a given day, perhaps. Like something you perhaps plug in and charge. An iPhone, a smartphone, wonderful. But you need to be able to survive without it, because your mindset won't develop. And I mentioned interlinking all the things, the intricacies of the first thing I said, which was conversation, right up to the ability to be understanding your own and other people's emotional intelligence, to nutrition, etc. And now to be able to leave technology aside. It's an ability, a soft skill that you need that was not taught to you in school. Why? Because you probably use technology to help yourself or to get from, right the way through your examination process, which is a good thing, but now you need to leave it aside and be able to learn those soft skills. Home repair will be needed, as will homeowners insurance in your life. You have to have enough money, bundles of it, in order to support yourself with insurance, or have the assurance that you too have the skills. Have ownership again of a house. Wonderful if you can. Make a house a home if you can rent it even. The point is ownership. Take ownership of what I've said before. Your home, your relationships, your life, your soft skills are all intertwined in one. Take ownership. That is what I'm saying to you. Interlink them all. These intricate skills, these soft skills that you never learned in school, or if you have, you ain't using most of what you learned in school, but you will use these aforementioned soft skills in the future to be sustainably successful. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Hit that button, and until next time, have a wonderful day.